Now, manual training, people have been doing that for centuries, millennia. So training plants is not new, and I don't want to pretend as if automated plant training is something that's creating something 100% totally new. No, we're automating an old method, an old process. So this is really designed for people that aren't around every day or every other day to maintain their plants. This is not designed for those people that are really great at training their plants and have the time, the ability, and the skill to stick around and be there in their grow every day to train their plants. So I just want to be clear about that. This is really designed for people who need more time. They don't have the ability to be with their plants as much as they possibly would like to, or maybe even they're growing in a remote location, in a location where you're not able to get there all the time. And that was really, one of the things that I was dealing with myself personally as a medical cannabis patient. I was growing in my basement, but I traveled a lot. I was out of the house several days a week, sometimes for weeks at a time, and just could not stay on top of my grow. And every time I needed to travel, it was always at that transitional time where I really wanted and needed to be with my plant. So I was up against it, trying to figure out how do I maintain my plants to stop them from growing into all of the lights, and got together with an engineering friend of mine and said, maybe there's a way that we can design a solution. If you're new to what we're about at Trella Technologies, I may have even forgotten to introduce myself, but my name is Aja. I'm one of two co-founders. My other co-founder, his name is Dre. We're both engineers, and I'm the cannabis patient, cannabis grower, and decided let's try to figure out a way to solve the solution. And as we started talking to other people, we found out we're not the only people in this boat. There's a lot of people that want to grow, but they've got families, so they're not able to, to take the time to keep on top of their grow, or they have jobs that are pretty demanding, or just other things that they prefer to do. There's also the people who just don't really, enjoy it. It's not their thing. They need cannabis for medicine, maybe, but growing is not really their thing. We're here to help people out with that. So that's one of the reasons why we do a lot of education. We go to a lot of events and talk about that type of stuff, is because we understand that there's some people that might need what it is that we have to offer. So with all that being said, just want to be clear, TrellaGro LST is made for people who need help. They don't have the time, they don't have the skill, or they may be remote. They may not be close enough to their grow. That's who we designed this for. It's automated. It's also designed for people who are trying to grow tall plants in short spaces. Trying to get those taller varieties of cannabis strains indoors, trying to get trees and more bushier plants indoors. If you're able to grow outdoors, this is not for you. If you have the ability to grow all types of plants, outside because you have access to great land, that's awesome. And that's, the way that, the way that nature really wants it to be. No hate on outdoor growing. Outdoor growing is primary, but there are some people that need help with indoor growing. There are people that don't have access to, a lot of land, and there are people that live in urban areas where it's just too tight, and you got to figure out a way to get things indoors. So that's who this is for. People that are growing indoors and are growing tall plants in short, small spaces, tight areas where they're having a hard time controlling their plant, or even having a hard time getting into their plant to maintain it, because that's another problem that people have sometimes too. If you see vertical farms where they got multiple levels, how are people getting in and training those plants? So to be able to do something that's automated, that takes care of the majority of the work for you, is what we were going after. I really talk a lot about, time, but it's really saving you time times two. I like to say time times two. It's helping you out with time in two different ways. One, it's automated, so you don't have to be with your grow as much as you normally would have to. I would say for myself, when I'm growing the plant that you're seeing on the screen right now, when I'm growing this plant, I'm in there once every week, 10 days maybe. Sometimes I'm very busy and I'm not able to be with it as much as I want to, so I can get away with not getting in there 7 to 10 days. And when I am in there, all I'm doing is I'm just removing leaves that are starting to turn brown, and that's not a lot of them. It's just the natural growth of the plant. From time to time you need to remove some leaves, so I use the 50% rule. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the 50% rule is if the leaves on your plant are browning by more than 50%, then it's pretty much safe for you to be able to take that leaf off. So that's the rule that I use. So I go in there and I look for leaves that are browning. It may take me about 15 minutes, every 7 to 10 days. That's not that much. That's tolerable. You can go on a trip, you can come back and forth, you know, and maintain that. In the majority of cases, I'm in my lab really to maintain other things, like making sure that my pH is still okay. We have an automated control on the pH, but you never know. I always like to double check it. We've got, you know, water and nutrients that we have to refresh and refill from time to time. That takes time. But overall, I don't spend a lot of time training my plants with this new setup. So I'm really enjoying it and hoping that other people will enjoy it too. So it's really designed for people who need more time, less time in the grow, maintaining your plants. Not because you don't love it, but because you're just not able to do it.